Hey, welcome back. Today we are going to be building a tribute page by rebuilding an existing website. This is the official website on the left hand side. And on the right hand side we can see what we are going to build together using NextJS 14 and Tailwind CSS. Everything that you can see on this page actually works. Every single link, every single component. Music player included. This is a great opportunity for you to break out of the tutorial hell cycle and reduce your imposter syndrome by building something. Why? Because you will be applying your knowledge by replicating something while still using the same website core ideas. So let's compare the two really quickly. We will use the same color scheme, and that will also be reflected in this hero section image created with the help of AI. This was the best Deborah's avatar I was able to generate. On the real website, we see a bunch of links listed. These links takes us to different places such as social media, YouTube videos, another website related to this one, or even popular music websites, and so on. On our project, we will include all of that, but using a better UI UX, in my opinion. And finally, the music player. As you can see, it all works. What about the merchandising website? So in the original website, you can get to that website by clicking here, and it opens. In our website, we can do a similar thing by clicking here. It opens the same website. Great, amazing. That's nice, but this is not the best, in my opinion. As you can see in their website, they have no section where they are displaying the actual products. But in our case, we'll have a section dedicated to that. So we'll have this slideshow that changes automatically, or you can of course navigate using the arrows or the dots below, whatever, it's up to you. And you can get a clear view about the products they have. So you have like a title, an image, like a category, and if you want to know more details for whatever product that is listed, you click the button and you are taken to the official website, and you can read more about that specific product and of course buy it from the official website. Bottom line here, I love Deborah's music, but I think she needs to update her website. Do you agree? Let me know in the comments section below. I hope you guys are excited to build this project with me, and I also hope you enjoy techno music, because we are going to build this project from zero, starting now. Let's just set up this project. So as usual, I'm gonna grab this piece of text and I'm inside an empty folder. I'm gonna open my command line, paste that inside, add a /, and to customize the default import, we can say no to this. Project installation done, packages that we are going to need. Okay, let's take a quick look at our project. So we are going to have a few components, of course. There's going to be this component here, right at the top, the Hero component, then a smaller component inside. We have then a layout component where we'll have this sidebar and the remaining content. The music player will have several individual components for the controllers and a lot of stuff. Then we have this one here, right here, which is the slider that we'll build with the help of the packages that we installed. And we also have another tiny component going on here. Okay, so we are typing different text automatically, and this is just a different way of doing it. We also need a few images for this project, as you can see, like this hero image, this one, this one, this one, and so on. And we will have those images inside our public folder, and I will give you access to those images. Regarding the songs inside the music player, we'll have those inside a music folder that goes inside the public folder. You can separate that and put them inside assets folder, it's up to you. But these images here, we are going to be doing something differently. We will be pulling these images from the official website, this one right here. And this is another way of using images, but I decided to use images in two ways so you see the two different ways of using images, especially because for us to be allowed to pull the images from a third-party website, we have to do a tiny extra configuration. Okay, let's add the MP3 musics inside our music folder that goes inside our public folder. Of course, you can organize things differently. You can have like an assets folder, stuff like that. It's up to you, okay? And inside we have the three musics that we have inside our music player. As you can see, these are just a regular .mp3 files. So as long as you have a .mp3 file and you configure everything else, you will be able to add more musics to this music player. Okay, those are done. So we now need the images. So I'm gonna just copy paste them. So copy, go here and do paste. There we go. And I need one more, the Wonder Woman, copy and paste. This simple. So we now have also the images and the songs that we are going to need, and we can start by organizing our code. Ciao Deborah, ho creato questo sito web per te. Spero vi piaccia. And that was my Italian right there. So let's continue. Time to actually create our three main components, just the basic structure, and put them in place. Inside here, I'm gonna have the Hero.jsx, RAFCE, there you go. So we have the basic structure. I'm gonna delete this main, this image. I'm gonna import the recently created components. So in this return a React empty fragment and my footer. Okay, this is it for now. We also want to take care of our globals.css by deleting everything inside apart from the Tailwind rules, and I'm gonna copy paste the code that you know already, and also a tiny bit of custom CSS for the music player. Okay, that's it. So I'm gonna start by styling this outer div. So now we're gonna need the hero image, the image that we have, this one. This is the hero image. So of course we need to import then import image from next image. And we're gonna import hero image itself, hero image, you can call it whatever you want. There you go, now we have the image. So let's use it then. I'm also gonna add priority here. And I know this because when I was building the project, I was recommended to add it. That's why I know, okay? So below, let's create just a div for like a dark overlay. As you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but there's like a dark overlay on top of the image. So it's looks better, otherwise it's too bright, so adding the dark overlay makes it look better in my opinion. So let's do that. So all we have to do is to style it, okay, and because the parent is already relative, okay, we can use absolute here, okay. I'm gonna give a bg slate 900, quite dark, quite blackish, absolute. The width, it's going to be full, the same for the height, because we want to take the exact width and height, okay, to fully cover the image. Top 0, left 0, and then I want to lower the opacity to 50%. Can be something else if you prefer. I'm gonna go with 50%. Well, opacity 50. And let's run our project. npm run dev, and there we have it, our hero image with the blackish overlay on top. Cool, let's continue. Style it right away. In this div will nest another div. Okay, we do not have that component yet. I'm gonna style this, so flex call, because I want the text to be vertically on MD flex row, justify around, items to the center, width, it's going to be full, on MD the width, it's going to be 60%, padding top, it's going to be 25%. And below this div, we need to have another div for the other component. This one that we do not also have yet, it's going to be called store. And I'm gonna style it right away. This one is going to be fixed right at the top. I'm gonna show these components to you in a moment. And we need to use some like colors, of course, but we throughout the website we are going to need some colors. So this pink, this purple, this yellow. So it is time for us to actually define the colors. So we need to extend Tailwind config file. So I do not have the color yet, but I know how I'm gonna be calling it. So I'm gonna use it right here, and then we'll define it inside that file. So bg, so the background, I want to give a specific color, which I'm calling DDL for Deborah de Luca. You can call primary, secondary, accent, whatever. Yellow. The width is going to be full. The height is going to be 10. The flex, I want flex box, and then justify, I want to the end. Push it to the end. Items center, and the padding X 5. Okay, so it is time for us to define those colors. So we need to go inside Tailwind config file, and we need to extend the theme. So we actually do not need this, that came with the installation. And of course, to be way faster, all I'm going to do is to copy paste the colors object that I have prepared. This will give us access to all of these colors that we can use and reuse throughout our project. Because we are dealing with a config file, I think it's better to just crash the server and restart the server. I mean, maybe for these colors it won't be necessary, but generally when we deal with configuration files, we want to crash and restart the server to make sure that all of the changes take effect. So let's do that really quickly. So crash, clear, npm run dev. By the way, if you don't know what command to run in order to run the development server, all you have to do is to check that inside the package.json file. And this is the scripts. So these are the commands. All I did using npm was npm run and then the command name. Let's continue. Okay, so just for you to understand what's going on, so these components that we do not have yet, we are going to create them next, and this typed is actually this text that is auto-completing, auto-typing, and for that we will have to use the package that we installed. I believe we installed that, and this one, the store, is this one right here, and this one, as we can see here, is always fixed at the top. Even when we scroll, of course, it's always staying there. So let's build this component starting by the typed. Well, I am looking at the package.json file and I am realizing that I forgot to install one component, the React typed component. So let's start by doing that right away. So I'm gonna need to actually crash this server, clear, npm I, and then the component name, press enter, and wait until the installation finishes. There we have it. We can now move on and build our typed component. So typed.jsx. So this is what we need. So inside this component, we need to import the package, and that means we need to start by defining the use client right at the top, because we'll change this from a server-side component into a client-side component. We are going to need also the next image, the next link, and Deborah's image. So let's import that. Import image from next image, import link from next link, and we are going to need a smaller Deborah's image. So in that image, we don't see it here because we are on a smaller screen, because we only make it visible on larger screens using a breakpoint. And this is the image, okay? That's why we don't see it here. So that image, I'm gonna call it import DDL for Deborah de Luca, and this image is coming from, we need to go inside the public folder, of course, because we have our images there, and the image name is Deborah. Deborah, the Luca, Italian DJ.jpg. Definitely sometimes these imports are tricky, but it's easy to know when we are importing the image, because if the path to the image is correct, we will see the image here. Okay, so that's actually nice. So we are going to need like one main div. So this div, I'm gonna actually style it right away. So now inside this, we are going to need two main divs that will hold more content inside. So this one that I'm gonna create them right away, and this the first one I'm gonna style it justify to the end. I want to push it to the right. On MD, I want to actually justify center. Okay. On MD also, I want my items to be center, and I want to change the cursor to pointer, because we'll wrap the image with a link pointing to the home page. I'm gonna actually just do view word wrap, so you see all of the classes. So let's go and work on the first image. Sorry, on the first div. This div will have another div. This is where the first bit of text will appear. This one, the blue one. So we'll have two bits of text going on inside this div, the blue one and the gray one. Okay, so let's work on the blue one. I'm gonna have a div, right? I'm gonna style it right away. Class name, text 1XL. On LG, I want the text to be 2XL. On XL, I want the text to be 6XL. Of course, the bigger the screen gets, the bigger we want the text to be. And then I'm going to use our custom colors. So text, and now I'm going to access the custom colors by typing DDDL. And as you can see, we have the list of colors. DDDL stands for Deborah de Luca. And as I said to you, you can use a beta convention. Normally use primary, secondary, accent, whatever. There you go. So inside this div, it's time for us to use this React typed. So I'm actually gonna grab that component, and what I'm gonna do is to let me think. Yeah, I need to pass the strings, which means I need to pass the text that is gonna go inside to be displayed. So it's this simple. And I'm gonna define it to 30. And inside this object, I'm gonna pass a string, and I'm just gonna copy paste a bit of Italian text that I just Googled it. Okay, there you go. I don't speak Italian, but when we have access to Google, we can speak pretty much any language that we want to. So why is this complaining? The gray one, as I explained it to you, I'm gonna style it, class name. This is annoying me. I know where this error is coming from. So this property is not actually string, but strings. I think this is what's causing the issue. Let's see. Nope, the issue is still here, and taking a closer look, I see that I should not have an object like I'm having here, but an array instead. Let's see if this is going to fix it or not. Finally, it is working. Cool. So, as you can see, it's fixed, so we do not waste any more time. The second bit I'm actually gonna copy paste so I do not make those silly mistakes. There you go. And this is complaining because I am not closing this, of course. So I need to close this off by adding react typed. The arrow goes away. But in between, I want to actually have the input. I need to have the input, which is a self-closing tag. The type, it's going to be text, and I need to give a class name, just PG transparent. I do not want to give a background color to this input. And let's see what we have. Let's refresh. Okay, looks like the server is down. So npm run dev. And it's not working because, of course, we are creating a component, but we need to call it somewhere in order to see it in action. So we need to call the typed component inside the, oops, wrong shortcut, inside the Hero. So Hero, there we go. So now we need to firstly import. So import typed. And now we can use the typed component in here, and this should allow us to see, there we go. We don't need to see this. Now we have it. Cool, let's continue. Okay, it's working, and as I said, on larger screens we want to display this image. Okay, the thing is, if you look at this, this is like the component is called typed and we are using the package, but this other div where we are going to display the image, it's not really directly related to typed, but it's just a tiny piece of code. I mean, technically you could separate this into another component and then call it inside the typed component, but it's just a clickable image, so there's no point to overdo this. So I'm just gonna go ahead directly and start a link. This link is going to point to the href, of course, because they all do. So href, and it's going to be our root page, because I want to make it clickable. So if someone clicks the image, goes to the home page. That's the idea. But in this case, actually I do not want to go to our root. I want to take the user to the official website instead. So giving credits to the official website like we should do. And that means we need another attribute, which is target blank. So it opens on a new page. Okay, so now we can actually bring the image. So the image, and this is the image. To be a bit faster, because this is super simple, I'm just gonna copy paste the image in here. There you go, and we should have it, not on small screens of course, but if I enlarge the screen, boom, we reach the breakpoint and we do see the image as expected. So this is coming along, all good, all fine. We now need to finish this part, because as you can see, this is just a link, and this is what I'm calling the store component. So it's just pretty much like a link pointing to the official merchandise store, okay? Because all we have so far is just the styling for that div. So we actually need to build the component itself. So let's do that right away so we can finish this Hero component. So that means we need to create another component, and I'm gonna call this one store.jsx, the usual drill. I'm gonna use the usual shortcut, okay? In here, I'm gonna actually import a link from NextLink, import link from NextLink. And in here we can start styling this class name. Inside this outer div, I'm gonna have another div, okay, that needs to be styled as well. But on other, I want to use a custom text color of pink. There you go. And I want this to always be a cursor pointer so the user knows it's clickable. And this means we want to take the user to another page, okay, if this gets clicked. And I'm gonna just put some piece of text in here. We want to send the user to the official website. And if we refresh, oh, silly me, one more time, like we did with typed, we are not calling the store. So we need to import store component, and we can now use the store component in here. And this will make it visible, of course. Save, refresh, and as expected, it's all working. Now we have the store component, the typed component, the hero component with the background image and the dark overlay, and on larger screens we display the image that is clickable, and if I click here I will go to the official website. Cool, let's continue. If you're enjoying this video so far, please consider subscribing to the channel. Time to build the footer component. And as you can see, the footer component is just a bunch of links that link externally to the official pages and websites and all of that, and these live inside a grid. So let's build this right away. I'm gonna start by changing this div to a footer semantic tag, and I'm gonna style it right away. Inside we'll have a div which is going to be our grid, so we will be using grid and not flexbox in this case. As you can see, our grid will have just one column on smaller devices, and on larger screens upwards it will grow to 3 columns. I can see a typo here already. Okay, so inside this div we'll have more divs, and each div will hold a link. I mean more than one link actually. So I'm gonna have a div here, okay? So the links are vertically aligned, that's why we are using flex call. And then I can simply copy paste the links. This is quite simple, there's no point for you to see me typing all of this. So you have like the 3 divs that are inside our grid. So I have defined the grid, then I have 3 divs. On smaller devices they will stack on top of each other. On larger devices they will grow to 3 columns and will be side by side. So let's see that in action. So let's go to our project, there you go. On smaller devices and on larger devices they are side by side, as expected. We can now work in our layout component. Basically, it's going to be split into 2 main sections. The left-hand side, where we'll link to other pages, all of the links, and then the right-hand side, where we'll have images, and we'll have our music player and our product slideshow. Okay, so let's start by creating the layout and this part right here, the left hand side. So first thing that we need to do is to change this div into a main. As you can see, I'm defining that this main will start as a flex call, so the content will stack on top of each other, but on MD breakpoint onwards, they will go side by side. So I'm gonna have these two sections. So I can have section. See, these are side by side. On smaller screens, they stack on top of each other. On larger screens, these go side by side. I'm gonna start by styling those. This one, it's actually going to be very similar, so I'm gonna copy paste this. The width, it's going to be full, but then on MD it's going to be 70, on LG it's going to be 80. And we do not need this. Notice that 70 plus 30 makes 100, and the same goes for 80 plus 20, in case you're wondering how I'm calculating this. In here I will have a main div. In case you are wondering how I was able to add this emoji icon, this is simple. I'm using an extension, and we can check that. And the extension is this one, Emoji Sense. So just install this and you can do the same as I did. So let's just take a quick look, and this is what we have so far. Because I actually forgot to add a p tag in here. This is actually going inside the p tag. I actually do not want to show this unless I am on a larger screen. Therefore, I'm going to start with hidden. On MD, I display this content, give it a padding Y of 6 and a font of semi-bold. On smaller screens, I do not see that, but on larger screens, MD breakpoint, see, I start to display this information. That's it. Now I'm going to need several divs, 5 or 6, where I can display my links inside. For that, I actually need to import. And below this P, still inside this div, below the P, I'm just gonna copy paste a bunch of divs. And they are all very, very similar. There's an error because I do not have Spotify. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just copy paste. Yeah, these are coming from here. Now it should fix the problem, and it does. As we can see, we now see the content. Sorry, not the content, I mean the content inside this section for the links. Yeah, looks good to me. Okay, let's continue. And as I was saying, this is just basically each of these divs. Inside they all have like this link that is wrapping the P, which contains the icon and a bit of text. So that's it, it's nothing really impressive. And they all, of course, link externally as expected. Cool. So this image and the music player, and also the product slideshow. So let's just create this part, include everything apart from this component and this component, which will require more time for us to develop, but we can use some placeholder texts so we know where things are going to be placed. And in here we'll have 3 other divs, 1, 2, 3. Okay, inside this last div, this is where we'll have our slideshow. So our product slideshow. Okay. I can style this div right away, and this div will hold 2 more divs inside. Let's see what we have so far. Okay. This first div will just have an image for the Wonder Woman, and we do not have the image, nor we have the image component. So, and we also want to grab all the necessary images. Okay. And there we have our image, but we are missing the icon here and a bit of text. Now we have it here, and notice that this parent div is set to relative, and in this one we are setting the div to absolute, which is allowing us to display the image like this. This content is getting displayed like this. So we are missing an image here right at the top, and then we have the main components. So we are missing that image. So this is the music player. So gotta be this image. 50% makes sense. Copy paste this, and we should get the image here. There we go. So now this is looking good. We are of course missing the 2 main components, the music player and the product slideshow, but this is not too bad, so this is coming along. Time for us to build the music player. The music player is composed of several parts, as we can see here. At the top we have the song name, below that we have the artist name, but in this case it's going to be always Deborah. After that we have the icons that simulate the control buttons, and these will allow us to move forward and backward. Okay. And finally here, right at the bottom, we can see what is the next music in line to be played. So the next one, and so on. We could build this as one big custom component. But let's keep in mind that under the hood we are dealing with React.JS at the end of the day. This means that when we are using React, the goal is to split the code into smaller components where each component is responsible for a more specific task. This means we can actually split these parts into several small components, and the main component, music player, calls another component, which is the player, and so on. So let's create these base files for all of these components right now. Components, I'm gonna have the first one, MusicPlayer.jsx. also player.jsx, details.jsx, and the last one, controls.jsx. So we have the initial boilerplate code for all of these components. Let's start by developing the first component, which is the main component, the music player component, where we also list our songs to be played inside the music player. The main component, the music player component. So inside of this component, we'll do a few things, such as creating the songs array, setting the current song and the next song, updating the current song, and we will use the player component inside our UI and we'll pass the variables to it. As you know, every time you use React hooks, the first thing that you gotta do is to turn a component from a server-side component into a client-side component by adding the string at the top. Otherwise, this will break. Okay? And then we can simply copy-paste the imports that we are going to need for this component. Use state and use effect. These are the React hooks. We can also import the player component that is not fully developed yet, of course. This is the last step, but we already import this at the top so we don't forget. Okay? So the first thing now that we want to do is inside the component before the return, so here, somewhere here, we can now create our const for the songs. So const in this use state will contain an array of objects. Okay? Each object will have title, will also have the artist, which is the artist name, of course, and needs to have, of course, the source for the music to be played. So I'm just gonna say src, and this is the format that we need. So remember that we already have our songs inside public. We have the 3 MP3 files inside this folder. Okay, so this is the format, and now that I showed you the format, to be way faster, I'm gonna copy paste the objects. Okay, so now we have an array with songs that we can access to. The next thing that we need to do is to use useState to define the variables for the current song and also the next song. So const, so this is my variable. Now we need a function to update this variable. So set current song index. And we are going to start at 0, which is the first song. Okay? So we also need another use state, but this time for the next song. So instead of current, I'm just gonna type next, set next song. And this is also 0. Cool. Now we need to use the use effect, okay, for updating this next song index. Okay, as we can see, I added the code for this use effect hook because it's hard to type and explain this at the same time. Notice that inside this hook we are using this to update our variable, and what we are trying to accomplish with this is to know on which music we are at a given moment. So let me just walk you through the logic inside this hook. But for that, we need to review how arrays work. Okay? So here we can see our array, which contains 3 individual objects. Can contain as many objects as you want, okay? But in this case, we only have 3 individual objects, which means the length of this songs array is actually 3, okay? But keep in mind that arrays are 0 indexed based, which means the first object, the index for this first object is actually 0. The index for this second object is actually 1. And the index for this last object is actually 2. And this is going to help us to know what song to display next if the user keeps clicking the next song button icon. Basically, how can we tell the music player to go back to the first music inside the array if there are no more musics to be displayed? Simple. The index of the music getting played is going to help us. So let me just add one comment to make this a bit more visual. Okay, I already explained you the indexes, but I'm gonna add a comment maybe here. There we go. Now let's understand what this if statement is doing. So this is the formula, okay? And let's see. So we are comparing the current song index, which starts, of course, as 0, which means the first music, right? Plus 1, and the result of that we need to compare against the song's length minus 1. So that translates to index 0 plus 1 is 1, because 0 plus 1 is 1, obviously. And then songs array dot length, it's 3, because there are 3 songs, minus 1 equals 2. So bottom line, 1 is 1 bigger than 2? No, 1 is not bigger than 2. So that means there are more songs. So we can continue and display song number 2 if the button is clicked. Now we are here, index 1, which is music 2. So let's do the math again. So index 1 plus 1 gives us 2. And we compare it against 3 minus 1 again, which is still 2. So is 2 bigger than 2? No, it's not. It's the same. That means there's more musics. So we can continue and send the user to the next song if the button gets clicked. And finally, we are here. Index 2, music 3. And the math is index 2 plus 1 gives us 3. And 3 is actually bigger than 2, which means there are no more music. There are no more musics, okay? So we need to send the user back to the first music. That's why we are returning 0. And this is how this works. We now can build the UI by using the player component that is not finished yet, but we can use it in our return and pass the variables to it. So firstly, I'm gonna style this just by giving a with full Tailwind CSS class, okay? And inside the div, I'm gonna bring my player component, which we have imported at the top, of course, and it isn't finished. I'm gonna just show it to you. It isn't finished, but we can basically start passing these variables. So we can say current song index, exactly, which is going to be set to the current song index. I missed the C over here. Oops. And all the other once. Time to work inside our player custom component. And this component is going to be responsible for adding the functionality to these buttons: the play button, the pause button, the skip song button. So moving forwards or backwards, okay? And this player component will actually need the help of the two other components that we have created. So the controls and the details. But we are going to build this and then we'll just use some hard-coded text and then we'll come back to this component to then include these two components. Okay, sounds a bit confusing, I know, just follow me and by the end of the tutorial this will all work for sure. Okay, once again we're gonna need to use React hooks and you know the drill. So I'm gonna have to turn this into a client-side component. I'm gonna also copy-paste my imports, okay? So the player itself, it's gonna take props, okay? I'm gonna do this not the best way, but the old way, I guess. But yeah, I'm gonna do it this way, doesn't really matter. Okay, the first thing that I want to use is to define a const for my audio element, okay? So const audio element, you can call it whatever, and I want to use the use ref hook that we have imported at the top. I'm gonna start this as null, okay? Now I need the help of the use state to define if it's playing or it's not playing, okay? So I'm gonna define a const is playing, set is playing. Man, I cannot type this because we do not play the music unless the button gets clicked, okay? You can navigate, but you cannot, so you can basically navigate, okay? But you only play the music when you click this button. Okay, that's it. And there's a typo here, so let me just fix this. Cool. So now we're gonna need the help of the use effect for these play and pause buttons. So play, pause, play, pause. Of course, we show one icon at a time, depending. So now I can play and I'm showing the play button, and if I click, of course when I click I see the pause button, okay? So we're gonna need the use effect for that. I'm actually just gonna do a copy paste so this doesn't take too long. So we check our variable, if it's playing, if it's true, we use the method play, else the method is pause, okay? You can Google these methods on your own, I'm not gonna go over these too much, okay? So now we also need a way to skip the songs, okay? And this is going to be a bit more complex, but I'm gonna copy paste everything one more time. And we can skip songs forward, okay? And we check the current song index and we do a bunch of things. I advise you to go over this code on your own because for me to explain every single bit of this, it will become super boring. And because I'm gonna give you access to the code, you should explore this code, okay? That's what I did. I found a tutorial and I built this project on top of that, made minor changes to the music player tutorial, and if I did it, you can do it the same way, and I recommend you to go through the code yourself so you understand this. Now we need to deal with the UI part of the project, okay? For that, let's start by styling this. So this is the div that is going to be this div right here, okay? And you can definitely improve the UI for this part, because I didn't really try to polish up this that much. I just wanted to make it work. So on some screen sizes it looks better than on others, like in this one, which looks okay in my opinion, but you can definitely play with the classes that I'm gonna put here in a moment. So let's do that right away. So class name, the first class, it's going to be Music Player. And as you probably can tell, this is not a Tailwind CSS class. This is actually the only custom class that we have defined inside our globals CSS file. There you go, Music Player. Okay, so this is the box shadow. Okay, cool. Now let's define a few Tailwind CSS classes. Let's change the background color to our custom purple color. I want to give a rounded corners of Excel, padding of 5 to all sides. On LG breakpoint onwards, I want the padding to be reduced to 3. I want the text to be in the center. I want the height to be defined to custom 400 pixels, but on MD I want the height to be increased to 450 pixels, and the width should be always 80% of the room available, not 8 but 80. And because of that, we want to center align things in the middle, so MX Auto. Let me just change this view to word wrap so you see all the classes I used. So inside this main div, I'm now gonna need two things, an audio, and a div. I'm gonna start by styling this div that will later contain more stuff inside. And I'm gonna use flex, defined to be a flex call, and then justify between and padding Y, so vertically to 4. Now this audio needs two attributes, src, which is the source, and we want dynamic values, and we also want the ref. Okay, the ref is actually coming from the useRef hook, and it's this audio element. Okay, and the source, I'm gonna copy paste so I do not mess up and that breaks. And this is the source. We are passing props to the component and we are accessing that information. Cool. So the audio, there's nothing else for us to do, but inside this div there's some more work that we need to do, because this will hold 3 other divs. So div 1, 2, 3. Okay. This first div, we can style it right away. We'll have a margin bottom of 12. On MD, the text, it's going to be 2XL. On LG, the text is going to be 1XL only, in this case. And in here, we are going to grab our details custom component that is not finished, of course, but we can pass it right away. And I'm gonna leave it like this for the moment because we need to pass some more information, but for now it's good. The secondary div, not secondary, but this second div, let's style it, margin top of 2, padding y of 2, and one more time I'm gonna grab, it's not this component, it's actually the controls component, controls, there we go. Also needs more information, but for now it's enough. And this is the structure for the music player. So this is the music player, the purple rectangle. At the top we get the song name and the artist name. In the middle, roughly, we get these button icons for the user to play and stop music and skip forward, backward, whatever. And then right at the bottom we get a little bit of information about the next music in line, so the next song to be played if the user keeps pushing the button. Okay, so let's then use the class name, padding y of 2, so vertically, and in here I just want to nest a p tag, and yeah, I'm just gonna copy paste, so I do not want to waste much time, to be honest. There you go. I'm giving our custom color, the breakpoint, I'm changing the text size, I'm just saying next, and then I'm grabbing the song from the song name. Okay, I'm grabbing the title of that song. So it's that simple. We need to work on these two components, and then we need to come back to add more information to them. So this actually works. So let's continue. As I said, this component is responsible to let us know the song name and the artist name. Okay, and we know that the artist is always going to be Deborah the Luca, but still we use it. So this means this needs to accept props. Okay, and then let's work in here. So I can style this right away. Class name, there we go. mx of 4, so margin horizontally of 4, margin top also 4, and then inside this I'm gonna have an h3 and an h4. Okay, these headings. So the h3, we can style it also, class name, it's going to be text1xl, the text color is going to be white, we can use this, which is the same, I just defined that color for white, but it's the same Xcode inside. The padding y to be 2, the margin bottom to be 4, and the font, I want it to be extra bold because this is the music title, right? So where font, there you go, extra bold, couldn't see it. And in here what we're gonna do is to grab the props, okay, dot song dot title. So we are grabbing the song's title. We can now style the h4, which is going to be, you guessed it, the artist name, and the text is going to be 1xl, the padding y it's going to be 3, the text color it's going to be our pink color, and the font is going to be semi-bold this time, font semi-bold this time. And we want to access the props, the song, but not the title, but the artist. If you don't remember where these are coming from, remember that inside the player, inside, not the player, inside the music player, I believe, yeah, we defined that each song contains the title, the artist, and the source. So this is where I'm getting the title and the artist from. This is actually all that we need in this details component. So we can now work, we can go back to our player. And in here, we can now pass that information. So we can say song, we access the props dot song, and in here we pass the props, and we want to pass the current song index. Okay, time to work in the controls. Let's go. So the server is not running anymore. I added npm I, and now I'm gonna copy paste the name of the necessary dependencies. So I'm gonna copy paste the first one because these are quite long and I do not want to mess up. So this one, and this one. Press enter. And yes, we are installing plenty of dependencies for this project, and these names are a bit tricky. Therefore, if you want to know all the dependencies in this project, just check the video's description below, because I'm gonna list them all there. So you can just do what I did, npm I, copy paste, and install them, and be sure that you do not mess up. Packages successfully installed. Let's then just restart our server. npm run dev, just hide the console, and let's copy the imports that we need. And I'm gonna also change view to word wrap. Okay, cool. So now this controls also takes the props, of course, and we can work on this one. So this basically will be 3 main buttons. So I'm gonna just style the alter div right away. So I'm gonna use flexbox, so flex, justify center, items center, margin bottom of 12. As I said, you can and must play with these classes to change it to something better. Now I'm gonna have 3 individual buttons. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And for each of them, I need to, of course, add more information. First button, I'm gonna style it right away, class name, and I'm gonna use the text color to be DDL pink. And we need, all of these buttons actually will need on-click events, because when the button gets clicked, you want to do something. So on click event, on click, there we go. And when this button gets clicked, I'm gonna access my props, and I'm gonna skip my song. Skip song. And in this case, because this is, I'm gonna set it to false, I need to now pass the icon, okay? Because what I'm trying to do is to add the icon button. So I have this font awesome icon, and then I'm gonna have to use the icon that is going to be the backwards. So skip backwards. So font awesome icon, close this, and then I'm gonna pass the icon to it. In this case, it's going to be the backward, so to go backwards. This looks good to me. I think I didn't do anything wrong. So the next button, this is where we'll display either the play or pause icons. So I'm gonna leave this one for the last. And now I want to use the skip forward icon. So I'm gonna style this one right away. Class name, the text is going to be DDL pink. DDL pink. It's not getting suggested. I don't know why. There you go. And then I want to use again the on-click event, anonymous arrow function, props, and this time skip song, there we go, and this time we do not pass false. The last button here is actually the one that will display either pause or play. I'm gonna style it right away. Margin X of 4, rounded full, so it's really a circle. Where is it? Rounded full, there we go. And cursor pointer, we can actually also add cursor pointer to the other ones if you want. Yeah, it's not that important, but it's the best practice. So on click event again, on click, I want to let me think. On click, so I need the anonymous arrow function one more time, and I want to access props, and I want to access set is playing, so set is playing, okay, and I want to set this to the opposite of is playing, so props dot is playing. Okay, so I am updating the variable by using the function set is playing. Okay, I am messing up here already, and this is easy to happen, trust me. So what I want to do is actually to use the function, the set function, to update the variable. And as you can see, there's two mistakes here already. So we can go to player, I believe. There you go. So the variable name is playing. So this is the variable that I want to use. Okay, and I use the set is playing. And as you can see, that's the function name, but it's with a lowercase s. Okay, so set is playing. And now I think this is good. So these mistakes happen and then things break and you have no idea. Sometimes it's just an uppercase or a lowercase that should be the other way around, whatever. My point here is it's easy to make typos. Be aware of the typos, okay? When the code doesn't run or throws you errors, many times it's because of these silly mistakes. Time to add the remaining icons, because if you pay attention, only this button is getting one icon. Okay, we need to do a similar thing to this one. So because it's so similar, we can actually go here, copy paste, but it's not backward, but it's forward. So let's just edit this, forward, there you go. And this icon, of course, is coming over here. And as you can see, we have two remaining icons, okay? And we only have one button, because now we need to decide when to display one icon or the other. So for that, we're gonna bring fontawesome again, fontawesome icon, there you go, close that up. And now we need to define the icon one more time. Okay, and we need to write the logic inside. So we need to check if the music is already playing, because if that's the case, we want to display the pause icon. Otherwise, we always want to display the play icon. So we access props, and then is playing. Okay, we need to check this, and if this is true, what you want to do? If the music is already playing, which icon do you want to show? You want to show the pause icon. So pause. Else, if the music is not playing, you then want to show the play icon. Okay, and I think this looks good to me. We can actually get rid of this comment. I already gave you plenty of explanations. Yeah, I think this looks good to me. So let's see if this is working or not. Let's just see if we have all the components. Oh, yeah, we need to pass the information in here. Controls, right? So we need to go to this component and see if it's playing. So is playing. Okay, and the variable is whatever it's inside the is playing variable that is coming from here. Okay, I'm here, I believe. Yeah, it's playing. So now what we need to do, we need to set is playing. So set is playing, and we set this to set is playing, and we also need the last control, which is the skip song, so the buttons backwards and forwards. So we need to use the skip song and set it to the value of skip song. And view or drop, yeah, let me just zoom out a bit. Yeah, this looks to me, time to see if this is actually working or not. This is the moment that we have been waiting for. It is time to bring up our music player component and to see if that actually works or not. So if you remember, we have the layout component, and inside the layout component we have a div for the music player. So let's just import our music player component right at the top, of course. Import music player, and now we can use our music player component and we can render that component. Okay, so fingers crossed. Let's see if this is working or not. So I'm gonna open. This is our project. Oops. Okay, all good. Scared for a second. Okay, there we have it. We have it. We have our component rendered. So does this work? Wow. Let's click forward. Okay, it's moving forward. Moving backwards. Good. So let's play my favorite music of all, which is this one. So if I click this button, this music will play, and I'm actually gonna bring the volume down, otherwise you'll call me nuts. And let's enjoy this because this is an amazing music in my opinion. Let me just bring the volume down. Amazing. I love this song so much. So let's try another one. Yeah, for sure this is all working. Finally, it took a long time for us to get to this point, but yeah, this is what it is. I hope you guys enjoy it, and do not forget there's one more custom component. Okay, so the last custom component in our project. So we do not have yet that component created here, I believe. Yeah, we don't, but we can do it. But before that, let's just make sure that we also have installed the packages necessary for building this component. And those packages are React Slick and Slick slick-carousel. Okay, and I will be calling this component SlickSlider because of this name. You can call it just slider, whatever you want. So just to review the final component, this is what you're trying to create. We have this slideshow that is actually changing the information automatically. So yeah, it's on autoplay. We see an image, we see the product description, the category, and we can click this button, and the button will take us to the specific product in the official website. Okay, and then you can actually buy it from the official website. Okay, so important about this, I mentioned it earlier in the tutorial that we will be pulling this image and all of the images directly from the official website, which is this one. And that means we are going to need to do a tiny configuration in order to be allowed to do just that. But the remaining data will actually be coming from an internal JSON file that we need to set up, and then we'll map and loop through that file in order to display the data. And then with the help of React Slick, we can actually build the carousel, and we'll be passing some settings to it in order to make it look like this and to make it responsive and all of that. So now that I told you what we are going to do, let's actually do it step by step. Right, first things first, so let's start by creating our JSON file where we'll have all the data necessary to build this slideshow. Okay, so I'm just gonna go inside app. Okay, inside the app folder, I'm gonna create a file called data.json. Okay, I'm just gonna paste all the data in here, of course, and this is just basic stuff. And as you can see, it's just an array with several individual objects, and each object takes an ID, the image, which is where the image is actually coming from, a title, a description, a call to action text, and this is for the button, a call to action link, so this is where the button will be linking to. Okay, so this is what we have, and there's like 5 products, so you can manage your products by editing this file. Okay, now that we have this, it really is the time for us to go inside the components folder and create the basic code for this slider. So I'm gonna call it SlickSlider.jsx. And there we go. So inside this file, we are going to use the packages that we have installed. So we're going to need to have access to the slider component coming from React Slick, and we are going to access the CSS for that, and also our JSON file and a lot of stuff, which means under the hood we need to use a client-side component, because this slider component requires that. So we need to start by turning this server-side component into a client-side component, and we all know how to do that. Okay, I'm actually gonna copy paste all the imports that I know that I'm going to need, just to be a bit faster. And this is of course the import for our JSON file. We're gonna need images and links coming from the image and link components from Next.js, and this bit is of course for the slider coming from React Slick, the component, the package that I mentioned it to you. Okay, in here we are gonna have to firstly define some settings for the slider itself, because we will have to inside our return in our UI we are going to use this slider component, and we will be passing some settings to it, and we'll be also styling it. And then inside that we will map through our data. So this is the plan. Let's do this right away. Before building the component itself, let's just let Next.js know where we will be pulling the images from. And that means we need to actually update our next config file. So let's find it, next config file. And in here, we need to just add an image object inside this config object and let Next.js know from what domain we will be pulling these images from. Because as you can see, we have the link for the images here, and we are actually pulling those images from this website, from this domain. So what we need to do, the first thing is actually to create images object, and in here we're gonna have like domains, and although we are going to just use one single domain, we could need to have more. So I'm going to use an array instead of an object. I'm going to use an array, and inside this array I'm just going to paste the domain. So now Next.js knows that the images are coming from this domain. So this domain is authorized to provide us with the images that we are going to access from here. So because we are dealing with a config file, it's always a good idea to just crash the server and then restart the server. Cool. Now that all the initial configurations are in place, we can finally start building our UI, which means we can call the slider component, style it, and pass some settings to it. So instead of a div, I am now going to use the slider component that we are importing right at the top. Okay, there we go, this one, and I'm going to start by styling it. So I want the width to be full. On MD, I want a max width of 90%. Okay, 90%. There's a typo already. Be aware of the typos. This happens very often. On LG breakpoint, I want a max width of 95%. Okay. On Excel, I'm gonna need a max width of 85%, and I want to center align this, and I also want to give a padding of 2 horizontally. And on LG breakpoint, I want to increase that horizontal padding to 10. Okay, keep in mind that all of these classes, not only they are simple, super simple, you can and must play with these classes, because I didn't really spend the time to try to make this look perfect in terms of responsiveness. I just wanted to build this music player and this slideshow as fast as I could, which means that, yeah, there's definitely room for improvement. It looks okay or good, but doesn't look perfect in terms of responsiveness. Okay, so you can go ahead, because you will have access to the code, which will be linked below. Then you can play with these classes and refine it to your own taste, and for sure come up with something even better. Okay, now we are inside our slider, and we can start mapping our JSON data, because we have that file, that JSON file imported right here. So that's what we are going to be doing right away. So I grab JSON data and I'm going to do .map, okay? And what are we going to be mapping? Products, right? So that's what I'm going to call this. So we will be mapping looping through every single product inside that file. So I'm gonna call this product, and let's use the usual syntax. Okay, inside here I'm gonna have a div, and this div it's going to be the parent div, therefore it's gonna need a key. This is a React thing that I believe you are very familiar. So I'm gonna, because the key needs to be unique, I'm gonna access my product and I'm gonna pass the product ID, because as you remember, each product has its own unique ID, therefore it works. So now I'm gonna actually style this outer div by giving a pink background, so DDL and pink, it's not bringing the suggestion, and the text color is going to be DDL white, and I'm gonna give a padding 4 to all sides. Okay. Inside this div we'll have 4 main divs. One for the product image, another for the product title, another one for the product description, and the last one the button. So let's create those divs. So div 1, 2, 3, and 4. So first div, okay, it's going to be for our image. So I'm gonna style it right away. The first div, I want a custom height of 400, and you definitely can play with this. Maybe on different breakpoints you want to change this height, because now it's going to be always 400 pixels. This is the div that will contain our product image. I'm going to use flexbox, of course. I want to justify this to the center. Item center, and I want to use a custom background color. In this case, I'm gonna, and this is the syntax for you to pass custom values inside Tailwind CSS utility classes, and this is going to be FPF 8F9. Hopefully I'm not doing anything wrong. Okay, and inside this div, this is where we will access our image. So I'm going to use the image. Notice that we are already importing the image and the link component from Next.js. So image, and as you know, image takes 4 mandatory properties: source, alt, width, and height. So the source, and this we want, of course, to be dynamic. So what we want to do is actually just to access our product that we are mapping through, that we are accessing through using map. And what property do we want to access to? It's the image. So image, okay, and then not a capital I, and then the alt. We can use our product description, right? Or you can manually, I mean, because it's dynamic, you should use a product description or whatever property you want. So product, and then the title, which should be unique. I'm going to give a custom width of 500 and a height of 200. One more time, and for the last time, I'm telling you that you should play with these CSS properties and this one and all the other ones in order to make this look even better. Okay, so inside our second div, okay, which I'm gonna style right away, we will have our product title. So I can use a custom height. And I'm using this because I want to make sure that I always have room for either small or large titles. Okay, so therefore I'm giving it a custom 80 pixels height. Then I'm gonna use text 3XL. Maybe it's too big, but I'm gonna go with it anyway. I want the font to be bold because this is the main title. Padding X of 2, which means horizontally. Padding Y of 3, so vertical padding. Of course, we need flexbox, because we want to, in this case, justify the items to the start. So bring the items to the left, and item center, items center, and margin top of 5. Okay, inside the div we can actually have an h3, whatever heading that you want. I'm gonna go with h3, and once again I want to access my product, and I want to access the title in this case. Okay, and this should be good. So next I want to go and access my product description. So to be a bit faster, I'm just gonna go here, I'm gonna paste here. I do not need it to be an heading, should be a P, and it's not the title, but in this case it's the description. Of course this div also needs some styling, therefore padding vertical of 3, margin top of 2, text MD, padding X of 2. Finally, our last div will contain our call to action button, okay, and our call to action text, of course. So I'm gonna style it right away, and padding Y of 3, text MD, and padding X of 2. This is the div, and now we are going to be calling our link component that we have already imported at the top, of course, and the link component will wrap a button, okay, that is going to be our call to action button. So the link component, the link needs the property of href, of course, so to tell to where this link is pointing to. In this case we want to access our product and our call to action link. Just as a reminder, these properties are coming from our JSON, okay, our JSON file, okay. So this is where I'm getting these properties from, of course, so you can edit this to your own needs and preferences. Cool. So I have the link, but because this is gonna be linking externally, I'm gonna provide another attribute which is target. In this case it's a blank, which means open on a new page. The button itself also needs some styling, of course. So I'm gonna use our purple, custom purple background color, so BGDDL for Deborah de Luca, and purple. As I mentioned it before, this DDL convention is not the best. Normally you use primary, secondary, accent, whatever you want. But this is not a real-life web application for a cutting-edge company. So I'm gonna go with this, and this naming convention is fine for my project. The text is going to be I need to be inside the class name, of course. The text is going to be Deborah de Luca white. Now we are getting some suggestions, cool. Horizontal padding of 8, vertical padding of 4. These are all Tailwind CSS utility classes. Rounded, in this case I want it to be LG, and on other, just so I can tell the user that to show some interaction with the button, we can actually change the opacity to 85, okay? And of course, it's a cursor pointer to indicate that it's clickable, cursor pointer. So finally in here we can access one more time our product, and it's a call to action link. Oh, sorry, not the link, it's the text, which is always going to be the same, so we could actually hard code this, but yeah, doesn't matter. So now we are done in terms of the slideshow, but we have not passed the settings to it, and those settings will change the look and feel, and we need that for the responsiveness and to decide if we want to display the dots, the speed of the slideshow, how many slides, if it's autoplay or not. So let's firstly do that. So still inside our main component, but before the return, we're gonna need to define a const, and I'm gonna call this just settings, which is a normal convention, I believe. And this is gonna be an object. Inside this object, we are going to define all the properties that we need for our slideshow. And so we do not forget, we are going to pass all the settings. So I'm going to spread and say settings. Okay, and we can check the official documentation for this. I'm not going to bother you with that. You can do that on your own. So, main settings. Do we want to display dots? Yes, we have dots, so we have access to the dots, and in this case we use the boolean of true to display dots at the bottom. We always want these to keep moving, so we're gonna define infinite also to the boolean of true. The speed, you can play with this speed. I'm gonna go with 500, which is quite standard, I believe. And we can also define how many slides we show at a given time, and I just want to show 2, also because we don't have many. I have like 5 or 6 in total. So slides to show, so slides to show, it's going to be 2, right? And slides to scroll. So when you do the scroll, how many slides do you wanna scroll? Just 1 in this case, because as I said, we don't have that many elements. So I think 1 is good enough. And we can use the autoplay, set it to true, so the slide always keeps displaying and displaying the products. I think that's what we want to accomplish. So autoplay, and I'm gonna set this to true. 1 more time. And we need the autoplay repeat. Autoplay, not the autoplay repeat, sorry, the autoplay speed, because it's gonna always show every single product automatically, but you can decide the speed for that. So autoplay, in this case, speed, if I'm not wrong, and I'm gonna set it to 3000. Of course, you can change this number and do whatever you need. So we are gonna need to come back to make this slider responsive, but for now let's just use this component and to see if this is actually working or not. Okay, time to go inside our layout component. There we go. Yeah, we have a define where we'll use our slick slider component. So let's import that right away. So import slick slider, and now we have access to it inside this layout component, which means we can go here below, and instead of this hard-coded text, we can use our component. So now we need to know if this is either working or not. Let's just refresh. Should be, but let's just confirm that. Okay, as you can see, we do see the component here, but looks a bit ugly because we are not dealing with the responsiveness of the slideshow. In our final project, we are, and on smaller devices, we are just displaying 1 product at a time. But here we have not yet dealt with that responsiveness. Therefore, this is looking not so good and it's breaking a bit, but yeah, we can navigate, as you can see. So the arrows are working, the dots should be working, everything seems to be good, but yeah, look at this, horrible. So let's just quickly fix that responsiveness and we should be able to make it look just like this, just like the way we want it to be. So now to fix that, we just need to go in here and add a responsive, and this is going to be an array of objects, because inside this responsive we are going to define the breakpoints, and I only have 3 breakpoints, okay, and these are just 3 objects, and I'm not gonna waste time with this. This is super simple. I'm just gonna copy paste this in here. So as you can see, we added 3 objects, and there's like this breakpoint, 1024 pixels, 600 pixels, 480 pixels, which we are defining the settings inside each breakpoint, and we can decide how many slides to show. So you can, if you decide to display 2, you can change it here to 2, whatever. So you can check the documentation for more details, and you definitely can and must play with this. So let's now see if this is better or not. Let's refresh the page, and as you can see, of course, it now looks exactly to the final project. So we can close the final project, and this is our project. Finally, we did it. And just to wrap this up, let's for the last time play this amazing song. Let's listen it for a second. Sorry, this party needs to end now. This video is getting way long, but I hope you guys enjoy it, and if that was the case, do not forget to subscribe, to like the video, and to share it with people that you think that might be interested in this type of tutorials. So I will see you on the next tutorial, and just a small disclosure for the future videos in this channel will be mainly related to e-commerce and Next.js 14. With that said, I'll see you on the next one. Bye!